Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia.
Look, if you're not happy in America, leave. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools.
What you just saw is exactly why so many people are concerned about the direction the country is heading. On one side, you have figures like Marjorie Taylor Greene and John Kennedy, who their supporters say are willing to speak bluntly and challenge what they see as problems in government. On the other side, critics argue that Ilhan Omar sometimes frames issues in ways that raise questions about where her political priorities lie. For some observers, moments like this go beyond ordinary political disagreement and turn into broader debates about representation and accountability. For many people watching, the real question becomes, who is a public official ultimately serving? The voters who elected them, or broader political interests? We're going to watch the full video and break down the key moments that have people talking. Before we get into it, take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and get ready to share your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you think about it all.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen." Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, "For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system." Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office. And whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education and the Workforce.
You know, when you argue with a fool, you just prove there are two. And I consider Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Tlaib, Congresswoman Presley, I think is her name. They call themselves the Squad. I consider them to be fools. They hate America. They think America was wicked in its origins, and it's even more wicked today. They ought to be thanking America instead of calling America evil and wicked and racist. But this is America, and they have the right to their opinion. But I don't like to see the president even dignify their point of view. Besides that, I think that the Squad, as they call themselves, they are destroying the Democratic Party. You know, when your opponent is screwing up, don't interrupt him. Let him go. I mean, just looking at this from a political standpoint, if I didn't know better, I would think the members of the Squad were GOP plants. I mean, they think that illegal immigration, socialism, higher taxes, abortion are all moral goods. They think America, Israel, free enterprise are moral bads. That's not what most Americans believe. And that's kind of where I am on the subject. The president has explained his position. He has said, look, here's what I meant. If you're not happy living in America, leave. It's a free country, and I agree with that assessment.
Let's get right into it. First, let's look at Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking on the House floor. Her opening remark referencing Ilhan Omar, Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, was presented as more than just a slip of the tongue. Supporters interpret it as a pointed statement meant to question where a lawmaker's loyalties lie. From there, Greene moved into the substance of her remarks by referencing the resolution being discussed. She emphasized the oath of office that every member of Congress takes, an oath pledging loyalty to the United States, and argued that those words carry serious responsibility. During her speech, Greene cited statements attributed to Omar that critics claim suggest prioritizing Somali interests. Greene used those remarks to argue that elected officials should focus solely on representing their constituents and the interests of the United States. Her position was that lawmakers must avoid even the appearance of divided loyalties. Based on that argument, Greene called for disciplinary measures, including censure and removal from certain committees, saying such steps would be necessary to preserve trust in the institution and ensure that decisions, especially those involving federal spending, are made with the country's interests first. Now, shifting to John Kennedy, his approach to the issue was different in style, but similar in tone. Known for his plain-spoken, down-to-earth manner, Kennedy framed the debate in simple, direct terms. He argued that some members of Congress spend too much time criticizing the country while overlooking the freedoms and opportunities the United States provides. According to Kennedy, the focus of public officials should be on strengthening the country rather than emphasizing its shortcomings. Kennedy also suggested that a more progressive faction within the Democratic Party is pulling the party away from what he considers mainstream American values, such as free enterprise, individual liberty, and a strong national identity. He concluded by referencing remarks made previously by Donald Trump, arguing that in a free country, people who strongly dislike the nation's system or values have the freedom to live elsewhere if they choose. In the end, Greene and Kennedy used very different speaking styles, but both arrived at the same broader argument. They believe there are individuals within government whose priorities, in their view, do not align with what they see as America's best interests.